You let everybody in?
Well, I was gonna, I usually wait for you to call up and then I can publish.
Oh, sorry, I thought we just had, my bad. All right, everybody, welcome. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to the April meeting of the Cannabis Task Force. I am required to read this statement, so bear with us. MCB4 has adopted a hybrid meeting policy whereby we will meet in person with a remote option. All community board meetings will require an in-person quorum to come to order and conduct business. Committee members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability or an extraordinary circumstance as defined by the New York State Open Meetings Law. Excused committee members attending remotely can fully participate in the meeting, but must leave their cameras on. We do not have anyone participating remotely from this task force today. Due to the public health best practices and space limitations, we encourage members of the public to join virtually. Members of the public that are attending remotely can fully participate in the meeting. The MCB4 hybrid policy can be found on our website, and tonight's meeting is being recorded and currently live streaming on YouTube. So I'm just going to go around and we'll introduce everyone that's here on the task force. I'm Dolores Rubin. Hi, I'm Wendy Gonzalez.
Hi, Rodney Washington.
Alan Lasser.
Sanford Miller.
Raul Arias.
Thank you. And just for those of the public that are attending, something that we have made sure to state before every meeting, we are aware that there are plenty of stores that are operating that may show or indicate that they have some connection to cannabis. We are not talking about broadly about those types of establishments. We are following the process for legitimate applications for opening up cannabis dispensaries. And we are hearing from folks that are going through that process and are applying for these licenses this evening. We will be speaking to potentially 3 different applicants. And so we'll just move right into it. And if anyone from Planet 51 LLC is here, to speak on their application, which is at 797 8th Avenue, please raise your virtual hand and we'll move you over to talk to us. Thank you.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Hear you fine, Nicholas. Is anyone else from your team?
Yep, Raphael's here. Sorry about that. Yep, I was actually on mute.
No, you're not on mute. We can hear you.
Alrighty, yeah.
Okay, so welcome. Please give us a synopsis of your application and what you're looking to do at this location.
Ralph, would you like to speak or do you want me to speak?
You could go for it.
So we are hoping to open the beginning of May. We have the intention of providing a safe and educational environment when it comes to cannabis, to destigmatize cannabis, to play a part in that. And we're excited. I'm not sure, I guess, which direction you want me to elaborate in. So maybe I don't know if I answered your question or if you can give me a little bit more direction of what it is that.
It would be helpful to understand your experience in this emerging, I was going to say budding industry, but I figured that pun would be sort of a little bit over the top. And also in terms of how you are approaching complying with all of the requirements. And we did receive your information, but just so that the public that is listening can understand a little bit about the build out, what you're planning to do, how you will operate, your security, et cetera, all of that.
Okay, I can answer that, Nick. I got it. So I'm Rafael Barbosa. I'm one of the managing partners over at Planet 51, DBA Nichols. Yeah, so we're at 797 8th Avenue. We as you know, we're opening a legal dispensary at this location. On site we have about approximately a little more than 28 cameras. Actually on Monday they'll be all on. The security companies coming in to do it. We're planning to, as far as security, we're planning to have armed security at the beginning, of course, and then bring on some just a regular security guard, depending on certain times of the day. We would like to open and close with armed security, which we think that would be important, especially for the area. Um, I touched on the surveillance cameras. We're gonna also have surveillance cameras out facing outside too, so we can have the perimeter, um, and also have scanners. So we would scan every ID that comes in, every person that comes in, just to make sure that they're 21 years old. That scanning also gives us the ability to also check that person, and so we know exactly who's walking in and out of the stores. So that would give us, it's a lot of access when it comes down to knowing who our regulars are, who our people from neighborhood, tourists that might come in. We can always have those checkpoints and also make sure everyone is 21. And we're planning to have at the beginning, since we're also new to the industry as far as this type of business, even though we do come from the legacy market, and Nicholas and I, we're also private business owners on our own. I own the Port Morris Distillery in the Bronx. Nick is a personal trainer, plus he also owns a gym course, Survive 41. So even though we've had those businesses and we worked outside of the cannabis community, we want to bring that into this side of the business, and also as we do with our regular business, work with the community, work with the NYPD, if there's any issues when it comes to our store or anything outside of the store. If they ever want to check out our cameras, we want to make sure that we give them access. So with those points, I think we can be successful in opening up and also being a part of the community and your community.
Right. And speaking of community, what community outreach have you done? Have you connected with any block associations or any community organizations within the area that you're looking to open?
Well, we haven't at the moment, but our attorney Jeffrey Hoffman, he did, because we were applying to open up at another location. This was before the injunction over on 44th Street, if I'm correct, 43rd Street. And so we did reach out to some of the communities in that area. I don't know the exact names, but at the moment with this new location, we have not.
We'll open it up to the committee for questions. Alan?
Thank you. Are either of you going to be on site on a regular basis, or you have a manager running it?
We will be on site on a regular basis.
And that is, what do you consider regular basis? Is that
Daily.
every day?
Yes.
Any hours?
So at the moment, we haven't hired any general managers. We are taking on the task as owners to be these general managers, because we want to be on site at least for the first 3 to at least 6 months. We're also learning the industry, so this is the reason why. Our hours, we were planning 10 a.m. to 12. We don't want to go past 12 midnight. That's what we put on the on your application when I actually submitted it. But we were just going around the hours and stuff, so we were thinking possibly opening at 8 a.m. just because we do know that there are some orders that come in overnight, and we don't want to leave the community waiting for it. But our plan, we're definitely not planning to stay open after 12 midnight.
Any other questions from the committee?
Sure. How familiar are you with the neighborhood?
So we're familiar with New York City, Manhattan. Nick and I are born and raised in Manhattan. We still reside in Manhattan. Nick is up on the east side in El Barrio. I'm in West Harlem. But knowing the area, I'm 51 years old, so born and raised on the Upper West Side. We've always visited the area as far as Hell's Kitchen, Times Square and the Theater District. So familiar in that case, knowing the area, we do. As far as knowing the community, groups that you guys have out there and stuff, we're not that familiar, but we're hoping to get familiar, and hopefully, we get invited to other things so we can start, being more familiarized with the neighborhood.
Sure, I was just curious if you knew how many illegal shops were in that area. I mean, do you?
Nick can speak on this. Nick, yeah. Nick's been on it, so Nick can speak on this.
So we've actually filed numerous complaints through our attorney to the necessary sources. I don't know if there was recent raids on some of those stores. I'm not sure if that's a result of the conversations that we've had or other complaints. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Just piggybacking on the question that Rodney just posed about knowing the area. While you are not within the number of feet that is designated, you can't be near a school. You are right in the corridor of where most schools are, literally from that 8 a.m. time frame, are moving from the train, which is on that block, west towards 9th and 10th Avenue to their schools. And we're talking about many schools. So you happen to have an area which really is flooded early morning and in the mid-afternoon by school-age children. And while we know that the regulations provide a lot of built-in fail-safes for you not to market to kids, we just wanted to make sure that you are aware, because not knowing the neighborhood, that is a concern, that there is another, whether legal or not, there is another potential venue where kids could get into trouble, maybe not in your establishment, but just to make sure you're aware, you know what's going on in the neighborhood.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I am a little aware. I'm not a little aware. I am aware of that. My daughters are both graduates from the Beacon High School, which is right there on. So I'm aware of that as far as that, as being a part of that part of the community. They both graduated a while ago, but yeah, I'm definitely familiar with the schools that are around there. And just so you know, I mean, we do have safeguards as far as you can't see through our window. So unlike the illegal shops that you can just peep right through, our shop would definitely have those things where you just can't look inside freely.
Yeah, we'll have frosted glass to the point that you literally cannot see in the store unless you enter the store, and you are not able to enter the store without bypassing security and getting your identification checked.
Great, thank you.
Nick, just to reiterate, since you're going to open at 8 a.m., you will have security there when you open and when you close. And then I wonder if it's something to think about, even all the schools, whether it makes sense to have security at some point midday, just something you all think about.
No.
So we'll have security every hour on the hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were specifically referencing armed security, just for our safety, as far as our safety, our employee safety, as far as opening and closing. But we will have licensed and trained security guards whenever the store is open. They will be present.
Oh, sorry, wait a minute, did you have anything else? No, that's great.
It says in your application that you have experience in the legacy business. Can you tell me a little bit of what you think are the similarities and differences that you expect in running a retail dispensary from your experience in the legacy?
Well, the similarities, I think, come from being passionate about the cannabis, being able to educate people about cannabis. And I have always done my best to create a safe space. So I think for me personally, those are the similarities. I think the difference is more so if you want to call it the corporate side. However, I've run 2 gyms myself. So as far as running a business, I do have experience. Not to say that there's always more to learn, but in a nutshell, I think those would be the similarities and the differences for me. Ralph might have a different take on it.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. Nick, as far as business, of course we come from outside of we're from inside the legacy market, but as far as our businesses are not cannabis, the ones that we own now. So, it's going to be a learning curve, and it's also going to be, a work in progress.
I was thinking more in the area of business operations. In the legacy business, did you have to handle cash? Were you excluded just handling cash? How did you handle the movement of product? How did you do your, are you familiar with the tax implications? The business operations of it, what are the similarities and differences?
So, as far as regulations, I've the business. So I own a distillery, right? So I have to deal with the TTB, with New York SLA. So that those are a lot of regulations that are already implemented when it comes to OCM and stuff that we have to go through now. As far as legacy, and yes, of course we have to deal with merchandising, knowing the products that we buy, handling cash. What's great about the legal market is that everything has to be tested, right? So it's a little different for it's not like if we can package anything inside the store. We're not actually handling like live product or live flower. Everything comes from the manufacturer's package. All we're really doing is just putting stuff on the shelves and selling it. So that's our side of this market. Where when you own a restaurant, you're handling the food, you're handling in this market where everything is packaged and we're selling it that way. Where in the legacy market, we used to package a lot of stuff and sell it that way. So of course, those differences are definitely in there.
Great. So just piggybacking on Raul's questions, just wondering if you have retained a consultant specifically that has experience in cannabis, or are you self-educating?
So actually, a lot of our staff that we've hired has experience working specifically in dispensaries. As far as us self-educating, what do I call them? I think companies is the wrong word, but I'm going to use it so I can move forward. The companies that are in place or the companies the people that are in place have really made it possible for us to educate ourselves in every single area, from the OCM to DASNY to anybody involved in this project has really made it very possible for us to just be educated in every area that we might not be familiar with. From the POS system company, there's just teams in every corner to set us up for success. So that's been great. And then as far as our employees, we do have a handful of employees that we're hiring that have already been through these trainings, that have actually went to cannabis schools, and that have experience in this market.
Great, thank you. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, even though the market is so new, there are a lot of people that do actually have experience the last few years, and some even that have moved to New York from other states we have some employees that literally have 10 years of experience managing dispensaries. So we're also excited to work with our employees and learn from them as well.
Great, thank you. Anyone else from the committee? Sanford, anything? Okay, well, sorry, go ahead.
Is that all right?
Of course, Jesse.
Actually, now your face is what triggered me, Nicholas. We met before, right? You and Raphael mentioned this. You had another location on the
Yes, I remember you.
Yes.
And
This
Jeffrey
is
Hoffman
back
on
in
the call.
2023, right?
Yeah, and I believe Jeffrey Hoffman was on the call at the time.
Okay, that's right. All right. That
Nice
makes
to
sense. Nice to see you again. I had a couple things, one, when I went and visited I stopped by the spot, I didn't see a posting, and I just wanted to see whether that, it happened where it gets torn down, but I wanted to confirm whether or not you guys posted. I sent you guys a posting for this
What was-
meeting tonight.
What was the question? I'm so sorry. I couldn't really
I'm
understand.
sorry, I said that I didn't see a posting on the location or the street corners for the meeting tonight. And so I sent you guys a posting, and I wanted to confirm whether you guys had been able to post the notice on the property.
Ralph, are you aware of that?
No, no. So, one of the issues that we are having or until this Wednesday. So it was totally in construction, and we will be receiving the actual key to get in. Did you get that?
Ralph, we
I'm
got
sorry about that.
Construction and you don't have the keys to get into the facility, so you weren't able
Yeah.
to post. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and then the other thing I just wanted to, I saw the space, and I know you guys said there's floor plans and, I didn't get to really take a look at them completely. Is the proposed space that you have right now just the ground floor?
It's the ground floor and the basement.
And the basement is used for what?
We have a staff area, we have our office, we have our security room with all our monitors.
So backup house, everything that's backup house.
Yes, and we have a lactate room for any pregnant employees, possibly pregnant employees.
And then anything on, is there currently any tenants on the floors above, second floor or third?
I believe there is a massage place above us,
Okay.
a spa.
I think the only thing I would just like to say, obviously, because there wasn't public, we didn't do any, they didn't do any outreach on the block association. And this happens at
That's, yeah.
BLP committee too, is that what you say between now and
Yeah.
whatever you guys decide on in terms of full board letter, that
Absolutely.
outreach
Yeah.
should be done, and they need to confirm that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks.
I know that we have public that wants to speak. We have someone in the room, Brian Weber. Maybe you want to come a little bit closer to the speaker. And then we'll open up to folks that already are raising their hands in the public online.
Thank you. I actually didn't come here about this, but I feel like I have to comment. First of all, let's eradicate the fallacy that the legacy market was a legitimate legal market. It wasn't. So they did not have to pay taxes on product. And I guess I have to ask, did you have a staff when you ran your previous business in this? So that's one question. I think that really has to be discerned when our board asks about their experience within the industry. It's only been legal in New York for a very limited period of time. Now, if they had come here and said, I was in the business in Los Angeles and I was licensed there, then that would be one thing. But here it's brand new. So unless they had a store, recently, there's not much running a legal, legitimate cannabis business. I know that's a contentious point of view, but the other thing I just.
Please. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you.
Nicholas, hold on 1 second.
I apologize.
Also, yeah, please, and Brian, if you can just tell your affiliation.
Oh, I'm
so that we
sorry.
know who you are.
I'm Brian Weber. I am a public member of Community Board 4. I am also the president of the Midtown South Precinct Community Council. The other comment that I had is I am alarmed that your business needs to have armed security. So for you to comfortably operate in the AM and PM, yet I understand why. You need that, but I think it's alarming and it doesn't speak highly of this business in our neighborhood, particularly on 8th Avenue. And I know you are lifelong New Yorkers and you're familiar with the neighborhood. And one of the gentleman's daughters went to school in the neighborhood, but our neighborhood has changed dramatically since 2020. And the 8th Avenue corridor is particularly tricky in this neighborhood. So I'm alarmed that we have a business that wants to operate with armed security. And that speaks volumes about the challenges that these businesses face. And lastly, I would say regarding postings, you don't have to post inside of your store when liquor bars and restaurants are looking to acquire a liquor license, communicate with their neighborhood. They post on signposts, neighboring stores. There's a way to post all over the neighborhood. So residents and community members know specifically about your location. All that said, I defer to the board regarding the appropriateness of this location, because as you know, this is in Midtown North.
Yeah.
So thank you, board, for letting me speak.
So I just wanted to confirm you were literally making statements. You didn't necessarily need a response.
I don't need a response.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a couple people from the public. We can bring over Alexis and Miguel, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Aileen, we're gonna bring you over. You will have to accept the invitation to come over. Hi, Alexis. We have you over so we can have you speak. You can unmute. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, my name is Alexis. I wanted to find out about this dispensary that you were talking about, because I'm trying to find out whether or not some of the people that are potentially going to work there, I know you're saying that some people that are in California that, you know, have experience and those type of things. What about the people in New York City that also do have experience? Are you hiring them in the neighborhood? Because I know you guys are in Midtown, right? Or supposedly I got to the meeting late. Can somebody let me know where the address is for this dispensary?
This is at 8th Avenue between 48th and 49th. And Alexis, if we understand your question, you're asking whether or not that they will commit to some local hiring?
Yes, well, I'm not done yet. Not even local hiring. I'm talking about people that have been in legacy and been affected. As you know that in Midtown or around there, I live in the Chelsea area. There are people that have been affected by the war on drugs in Chelsea and Fulton, Chelsea and Fulton. And they would like to be part of this, be part of the dispensaries and get a first hands on how to also properly educate themselves into this new working field, because there is a lot of people that have experience, but and they're illegal, obviously, but just trying to get a point of view of, do you know that there are any, how can I explain? Damn it. Sorry, I'm getting all twisted in my words. Any educational programs here, because I know of one that's called Hospitality Pathways that I have been fortunate to be part of, and they also help with educating people that are in legacy that are trying to become a bud tender. So I'm just trying to find out, have you tried to look into those aspects of hiring people in the community that have been truly affected by the war on, by the cannabis industry? Meaning the illegal and the war on drugs. Yeah.
Okay. So Alexis, it sounds like your question is general around education, but Nicholas,
Yes.
I know you mentioned that you have some folks that you're hiring that have had education. So perhaps what we can do, Alexis, is get a little more information, maybe from Nicholas and others, about where education can be provided. But
Yes.
Nicholas and Ralph, just wondering if you have any intention of working through organizations to hire local folks that may have been impacted.
Yes. So I am actually a local folk that have been impacted. I am familiar with Chelsea and Fulton. I grew up with some people from the neighborhood, Fulton specific and Chelsea specifically. And we actually so I was at one point in time I was in a program, like a second chance program, so to speak. And once I opened up my gyms and became, I guess, successful, if you want to call it, in the legal world, I consistently would go back and speak to the kids and give them opportunity. And I did the same thing. Actually, the program is called Avenues for Justice. And so I actually recently interviewed a few kids from there. And our interviewing process is actually still live. So if there is anybody specifically that you're thinking of, I can provide the information so they can turn in an application, and we'd be happy to interview them.
Okay.
Great, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, if you ever wanted to check out the non-for-profit organization that we've been advertising for the people in Chelsea and Fulton, it's called Hospitality Pathways by Bernice Stein. She's been a big advocate, and we'll be at the Cannabis Parade, just letting you know. Our table's there.
Hospitality Pathways. Great, thank you. Thank you, Alexis. Miguel, hi.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me again tonight. My name is Miguel Lasvito. I'm the TA president of all the Fulton Houses, a public housing development in Chelsea. But I'm also concerned, it's a twofold. First of all, I want legal cannabis to have the opportunities to open up, so this gives the opportunity to shut down these illegal ones. But my concern was you guys should have not waited for your attorney. You guys yourselves should reach out to the neighborhood. I mean, Brian said it best. You don't have to wait for the business to open. You should have posted all the polls, reached out, look where the residential area was, where the school is, because we need to attack this the correct way, not just by saying people who don't know anything about cannabis, but they want to be part of cannabis. It seems like you guys have your heart in the right place, but reach out to consultants to make sure what you're doing is also community minded. And that's the biggest thing that I worry about, that you guys didn't do enough community outreach, and you should. I support the plan, but I don't support that you guys didn't do any outreach.
Miguel, I want to answer that because I'm not trying to throw anyone under the Miguel, just so you know, I was the assistant super at Fulton Houses before I resigned to open up my business in the Bronx. I used to be the superintendent for the New York City Housing Authority. I was superintendent at Douglas Houses and assistant super at Fulton Houses. So this was something about 12, 13 years ago. Then I opened up my business. But in all fairness to us, we submitted our 30-day notice to the community in January 20 something. We just recently got an email about 10 days ago, a week ago. So in all fairness to us, we did our reach out to CB4, and we just thought, you know, I mean, I had a liquor license, and I know once we reach out to the community board and we don't hear anything back, we just move forward. So our 30-day notice was issued. It was totally. I know. I agree with you, Jesse. It's totally communication, but we did try.
I think here's what you're hearing is that the community outreach is extremely important, even if you are born and bred New Yorkers. Many of us here are as well. So just the point I think that you need to be hearing is that there is a concern that not enough of the community knows who you are and knows the intent. So that's the bottom line.
Well, I just want to clarify for the record, Raphael and Nicholas, we get the notice. We emailed you guys. I sent you an email that I sent to you guys a month ago, and you guys apologized for not catching that previous email. So I don't want us to present ourselves improperly, okay? So I can certainly resend you the emails that I have included you guys, the email that I have from your 30-day notice that you've sent me on in the past. And I can show you that we have sent you contacts saying we've received your 30-day notice. Here's what you have to do. Please fill out the application. And that did not happen.
We
missed that. We apologize. No excuse, but if I'm just giving you a little bit of context, we've literally had hundreds of emails coming through our email. So I'm really sorry if we didn't handle that correctly. As far as community outreach, we would love to to do more of it. So before this call is over, if there's any information that we can take from you to make sure that we do our due diligence and give back to the community, because outside of a business aspect, it's important for both of us, just from a personal place, to make sure we provide opportunity to people that need it, and especially people that have been impacted, because we lived it, and we are some of the people that have been impacted. So it is very important to us to give back and to provide opportunities, provide education. We're going to have all of these brands coming in and educating the staff. So I just don't want it to come across like that is not a intention of ours, because it very much so is. So I apologize if that wasn't clear. And I would love to make it clear, not just by words, but by action. So if there's a way that we can gather some information from you guys to make sure that we do better moving forward, we would appreciate it. Like I said, things have just been very hectic trying to get the store open and trying to get our ducks in a row, so to speak. So I'm sorry if that feels like it fell to the back burner. That wasn't the intention.
Well, Harborview Houses is less than 10 blocks away, and Jesse can give you the contact there, so this way you can start on the right step tomorrow.
Thanks,
Sounds
Miguel.
great.
Martin, Nick, and Raphael, I'm happy to send it again, but I don't want us to get into the same loop where you're telling me you're receiving too many emails. My suggestion is you have my name, it's on the screen. Type in Jesse Bodine into your email searches. You will find my emails, which has the attachments of every block association that should have been contacted. And you can use that, and you take that and contact them between now and our full board, which is the first Wednesday of the month.
Yep, so let's just move on, before Raul. Alexis, we're trying to, Alexis, did you raise, okay, your hand is down, okay. Raul, and then we're gonna bring this to a discussion.
To the point made by Alexis Paris about, I guess, people who are looking for work, but who ran into some trouble. I would love to see Nicholas and Raphael post their jobs. Look, according to the application, they're gonna be hiring 8 full-time and 8 part-time persons. And I'm wondering, years and years ago, when I served on this board, this is back in the Bloomberg days, the community board set up a page where.
Still there.
Still there.
Oh, it's still there?
Still there.
Oh, well, I was one of the people who started that.
Good job.
So, if we could get Nicholas and Raphael to, I was serving as co-chair of the budget and jobs task force. If Nicholas and Raphael, if you would be willing to, post those jobs on our website. So that, people from our community who regularly go there can be aware of what it is and apply with you guys.
For sure.
Great.
We don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so for this part of the meeting, we're gonna be discussing with the committee on our actions, so just letting you know, we're not gonna be asking any other questions. So opening it up to conversation from committee members, reactions, thoughts. Again, they applied back in January, so they passed their 60-day notice. They have a location.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this applicant, subject to, on the condition that they do the reach out that they promised that they will, and posting the job openings on our website.
Okay, we have a motion. Any second? Second, any discussion on that? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And well, that's all of us, so no one's opposed. So gentlemen, we will, subject to you doing that outreach and letting us know that you have reached out to the the block associations and other organizations that are on that list. We will be recommending to our full board, to approve, the application from the board's perspective. Our full board meeting is the first Wednesday of the month, and that's when that's voted on. So we hope to hear from you well before then, that you've been able to do that outreach. And also if there are any jobs that you do have still open that you'd like to post on our website, you can send that to Jesse.
Can I just make one more
Absolutely.
point?
Of course, make it a point.
Just for clarity's sake, guys, so when we understand that, that doesn't solely mean you send out one email, mass email to the list we're sending you. It's about attending the block association meetings that are nearby your location. It's about talking with those folks, them getting to know you, you getting to know them, so then when we come to the point of the vote in May, we have some sort of feedback from the community. Just to be clear.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we will also, I mean, we will also like you guys to come visit the location. You come see it too. I mean, that would be nice also.
Great, thank you very much. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. No, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move to the next applicant, Harlem Equity Inc. If there's anyone from that application, which is at 515 9th Avenue between 38th and 39th Streets, please raise your virtual hand and we'll bring you over. I don't know if Daniel, so but Daniel, I think you need to accept the invitation. Oh, Alexis is the person you kept raising your hand.
Yeah. So. Oh, Alexis, I'm sorry. I keep on pushing Alexis.
No, you can get Daniel as well.
Daniel, you with us?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay,
So
there you go.
So please tell us about your proposed method of operation, the location that you're going to, and a little bit about how you intend to engage with the community in your new business.
Yep. Good evening, members of the community board. Thank you for having us here. It's really a privilege. I was under the impression we had like 5 straight minutes, so our group kind of had a mini presentation that we prepared. If you'll bear with me, I'll just go through some of the talking points and we can discuss it.
Did you have something you wanted to present on screen, a presentation?
Oh no, it's just I'll just be speaking.
That's fine. Okay, great.
Yeah, so we're here for the consideration of our dispensary, doing business as Ohana Cannabis. We're an experienced operator out of California, and we've partnered with our native New Yorker, Mr. Jay Brown, who you will meet later in the presentation, to bring our unique business model to your great neighborhood. Founded in 2014, we're a retail-focused operation with 9 active locations across the major cities in California, from San Francisco all the way down to Los Angeles. And we're adding more to our footprint as we're in a period of success and growth in the company. We have a fantastic property right on the corner of 9th Avenue and 39th Street with a total of 7,800 square feet of space over 2 floors. The ground floor will be our sales floor with high ceilings and modern interior that'll be inviting to new and experienced users alike. The lower level will be a consumption lounge equipped with state-of-the-art air ventilation systems and comfortable seating areas for our customers to enjoy their products well out of public view, of course. Our entrance on 9th Avenue is subdued and inconspicuous doorway, and we'll never have neon lights or colorful display windows that could be appealing to minors that you see in the illicit smoke shops you see around the city today. Our front door will always have security guards scanning IDs to ensure no one underage can even step foot in the store. We take compliance and security very seriously, and we've never had an infraction with our local or state authorities across all our jurisdictions in the 10 years that we've been operational. Our premises will be monitored 24 hours a day by licensed agent at all times for any loitering or illegal activity, and our UL certified security systems will have complete coverage of both the interior and exterior of the building. The increase in patrols and security coverage that we'll provide, we hope will deter any illegal activity and consumption of cannabis in any public walkways. Our co-tenants include a 4-star hotel and high-end restaurants, and we'll be fully committed to maintaining the safety and ambience of the area. We know that there are illicit shops within walking distance to our proposed location, and we are more than ready to take these places head on by providing a high-quality alternative to a customer shopping experience. Our core business model has been successful in attracting cannabis users who want a high level of customer service and safe and tested products away from the black market that's prevalent even in California today. We have been very successful in that regard. And at this time, I'd like to introduce my business partner, Miriam, who can elaborate a bit further on that.
Okay, one moment, we'll bring Miriam over. I can do that. Miriam, you just have to accept the invitation to come over. Miriam, you can unmute. Hi, welcome.
Hi, good evening. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. My name is Miriam Azimi. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you so much for your time. Just a little bit about me. I'm a former Division I athlete. I played soccer at Cal Berkeley. I'm an accounting major. I'm a mom of 3 babies, and I've been a senior partner with Ohana Cannabis Company, managing our operations up and down the state of California for the past 5 years. In that aspect, I'm extensively knowledgeable in every aspect of what it takes to run an accountable, structured, and compliant cannabis operation that wins. I'm very focused on building up positive community and helping people. I'm very passionate about plant medicine, natural healing, and teaching people how to get back to looking good and feeling good through the power of natural alternatives that don't have the toxic, harmful side effects that you typically get with traditional Western medicine. That being said, as Ohana Cannabis Company, we are the new face of cannabis. I really want to assure you that we're not your typical traditional cannabis dispensary. We have an open showroom floor, much like an Apple store, with glass display cases for full transparency of our products. Our showroom floor is designed for our guests to take time to browse, so they're not rushed through the process, nor having to wait in line and be rushed through to make an order when they get to the front of the register. And also our showroom floor is designed for our highly knowledgeable and trained consultants to build sincere relationships with our guests by finding their needs and pairing them up with the best solutions for their needs through proper education. We're not an operation that's here just to sell weed or just to get people high. Oftentimes, we in fact recommend microdosed products that have little to no psychoactive impact. And in addition to that, we teach our community about the power of nutrition and healthy lifestyle solutions in addition to their cannabis use. We consult with our guests about things such as how much water are you drinking, how many fruits and vegetables are you eating, eliminating highly processed foods, and simple lifestyle solutions that are necessary not only to improve the health of our guests, but also to improve our guests' endocannabinoid system so that they're actually able to benefit off of the benefits of cannabis in the first place. So with that being said, I'm confident that with your approval, Ohana Cannabis will only be a source of light and positivity for the Manhattan community, and as we are for every location that we touch, as has been proved by our 10 years of experience. Thank you so much for your time and for your consideration. And I'd like to now pass the mic to our business partner, Jay Brown.
We're bringing Jay over now. Thank you, Miriam.
You're welcome.
Hello?
Hi, Jay.
Good evening.
We can hear you.
All right, my name is Jermaine Brown. It's a great honor to be here today with my partners, Ohana Cannabis, for our proposed business in your neighborhood. I'm a native New Yorker that grew up in Harlem and currently reside in the Bronx. My early interactions with cannabis was not good. I was convicted of criminal possessions of cannabis early in my life, 26 years ago. This early conviction hindered my ability to secure a job to make ends meet for me and my family, so I resorted to selling cannabis. I was charged and convicted in 2005, and after that, I made the decision to change my life forever. I was lucky enough to be hired as a parking coordinator at a film production company. I worked long hours with the goal to one day open a small business in the community. After over 10 years of saving, I achieved my goal, and in 2020, I opened up my small business in my neighborhood. When the cannabis program launched in NYC, I was thrilled at the opportunity to make up for some of the lost years cannabis convictions cost me. I want to use the skill and experience I've gained as a small business owner in Ohana and apply it to the new industry. Me and my partners have worked hard to secure the location and have been preparing for this business since 2022. We have the vision and a good work ethic / principle that will guarantee the success of our store. I'm ready to take this next step in my life and promise to make the city proud by bringing the type of store to New York deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna open it up to the committee. Any questions, comments? Okay, Alan?
Thank you. It was a great presentation. Could you explain on your application who Seed Star Inc. is?
Yes, that's the entity me and my partner Miriam are owners of. That's a branch of Ohana Cannabis. We're doing business as Ohana Cannabis as a whole. So 49% of Harlem equity is owned by Seed Star, and 51% is owned by Jay Brown, who you just saw.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I follow up to that
Go ahead,
question?
Rob.
Does Seed Star own the other 9 locations in California?
Under that entity, we own the Sacramento location, which is the one I'm currently in charge of building out. But we are all under the Ohana brand, yes.
So you own another 8 and 1 coming up in Sacramento?
Yes, correct. And that's under Seed Star. And we just got our DCC, like the state license under Seed Star, to start operating that one.
The reason I ask that is because I believe that there is some sort of limit to how many locations you can own in New York State, or at least to own if you're gonna be doing business in New York State.
That's correct. The limit is 3.
Yeah, the limit is 3, right?
Correct, yep.
In New York.
But they have to be physically in New York. It's okay if they're outside of New York, or?
Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the limit is 3. You could only have a financial interest in up to 3 licenses as a direct owner, which Seed Star is.
In New York State, though, that doesn't include outside of New York State.
Oh, yes, yeah, only in New York State, correct, yeah.
That's the clarification. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Alan, a follow-up?
But they're applying for a dispensary and consumption license?
Yes.
So are we doing that now?
Well, we will be discussing, they just described the layout where they would have, and also Miriam described the look and feel, sort of an Apple store where you can display with a comfortable space for people to go ahead and consume out of sight, which is what was mentioned. So yes, this is the operation that we're gonna be discussing, whether or not we feel comfortable that being in the community. Any other questions from the committee before I ask a few?
Sure. Can you talk about your outreach to the community here?
Yes, I've reached out to the community group members from the list that Jesse provided me. I gave them notice on what we're intending to do, the location, kind of gave them a preview of the interior that I have from our broker, which is, obviously not going to be the final product, but just kind of give them a little preview. And already 2 members have reached out to me, actually late last night and early today, and I haven't got back to them because I was getting ready for this, but I really want to, take my time and give them a sincere, genuine response. And they did have some concerns that I was going to address as well.
What were the concerns?
So the first one was the fact that there's a bunch of illicit shops everywhere, all around the city, and our inability to compete with them because, they don't pay taxes and this and that. Our answer to that is, there's always going to be a black market. Like in California, I think the latest figure was something like 50% is still operating under the black market. But, responsible cannabis users at the end of the day, they want safe products in a nice environment, not in a shady smoke shop where the products are untested, sprayed with God knows what, pesticides, mold can be, present in the product, which can be actually really dangerous for the end consumer. So our strategy is, of course, is to, give people the legal option, which will be the safe option, and that's, in our opinion, the best way to combat all the illegal stores around the city. And of course, like OCM is also helping in that regard as well.
I'm sorry, was there another one? Another concern? I felt like you had.
And the other one was I sent the pictures, and I think the person thought that was going to be the final product, and it had some like game room features that had like ping pong tables and such. And she didn't know if that was okay for a consumption lounge to have and things of that nature. So I just need to clarify with her, this is not our final product, or we're gonna have more comfortable seating areas with ventilation systems, with tables and whatnot. Probably not all these ping pong tables and football tables in the pictures here.
Yeah, we're passing along, I was one of the recipients of your email, so we're just letting folks know, get a little bit of a sense of what your outreach was like. Any other comments from the committee? I do have a couple things I wanted to note.
Just one question around, just a little more detail around your air filtration system. It is something you've had experience with in your other locations in California.
Yeah, so we like to utilize like industrial air filtration systems. There's a couple companies that do it, and they all cover places like casinos, airports, and hospitals that require, higher quality standards of air. We like to, during the build out and of the space, we like to, of course, scope out like different vendors and see what they can provide, as the industry is always changing. We had some couple in mind. There's Flack Group, Alton, and a couple others that we like to tap in. But at the end of the day, we'll take quotes and see what the best option is for a basement level consumption lounge solution.
And Raul?
Yes, I'd like to ask Jameen Brown, what will be your involvement? Will you be managing the store day to day, or what's going to be your involvement?
My involvement will probably be like helping out day to day.
Great, thank you. We had a few hands up. I don't know. Oh, yeah, which one's that? We can just bring them over. So I just wanted to comment to the committee. I think we are hearing that these are folks that have a lot of experience, and they're bringing that experience to this business. But I will remind you that the location where they're looking to open is almost exactly in a location where we had the same concern about very experienced operators on a block that is very saturated with illicit shops. And that ultimately did get voted down because of the fact, not the operator, but because of the fact that the area itself is problematic. So I just wanted to remind folks that this is the exact same area that we are talking about. So we brought over a few people. Is Kevin here already? Justin?
Yeah.
Justin, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you for acknowledging me. Wasn't sure if you were taking questions from the audience. Represent the lender. This particular location is part of a mixed-use development that ultimately has 5 separate condominium units in there. One of which being the subject that's being spoken about, known as CU1, Commercial Unit 1. There's also a residential unit there sitting above with 111 apartments owned by a different ownership. And then as an agent of the lender, our collateral is the 3 other condo units that I believe may have been mentioned there: a hotel, a parking garage, and another commercial unit that currently operates as a restaurant. Just wondering if the attendees could discuss a little bit about what communication they've had with other owners, as well as the condo board in this mixed-use development. As well, heard it described that this would be over 2 floors, I believe, with the subterranean floor being the retail location and the ground level floor being a consumption location. If they could also expand on how they propose to route guests from that one entry location on the ground floor, which I believe would be consumption, down to that second floor, since I don't believe those spaces are actually contiguous.
Yes, we haven't directly contacted like the condos above and whatnot because we've been waiting from OCM, word from OCM to proceed with our application in general. But I did, like I mentioned, I did reach out to the list of community members that Jesse had provided me. I'm hoping someone in that group was part of that block as well. But yeah, we fully intend to engage with our entire unit. Of course, our co-tenants. We have the full blessing of the property owner, of course. And in terms of like managing traffic, we don't think there, our space is quite big, 7,800 square feet. There's not going to be really a time with a queue like going around the block. In the rare case that we might have that during certain holiday seasons where we can't fit everybody in, which I, knock on wood, maybe it would happen, but I don't think it would, it's still a really large space. We would utilize, of course, our security guards to rope out areas outside the building around the corner, make sure that they're not blocking the public right away. And yeah, and in terms of like the actual layout of the two floors, the ground floor is actually the retail, and the consumption lounge will be the one in the subterranean level. So the smells and anything of that nature wouldn't really, it'd be safe from going out from that area. And the two levels are connected by stairway, so they'll be able to connect in that manner.
With a common area in between that stairwell into the 5 separate rooms that you're describing as the consumption space downstairs that are divisible by air walls, which sits directly below the hotel unit of the condo. So just not really sure how that directly works.
Thank you for providing that additional context. Thank you. Oh, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. Are you over already, Ryan?
I am.
Hi.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for bringing me over. I am Ryan Marcano. I'm the Director of Operations for Clinton Housing Development Company. CHUC, as we are affectionately known in the neighborhood, we have residential and commercial properties rather close to this specific location. And to the point that Dolores made, I just wanted to say that we are opposed to this vendor, specifically in this location. And to the point that Dolores made, another vendor was denied use and occupancy for this space for several reasons. Yes, I understand that it may not be as important to you guys who are trying to get this space, but there are several illegal shops in the vicinity where you want to have your business. And I'm quite interested to know, you said, Mr. King, that the visuals that you put out in your email, I was a recipient of your email as well, is not what your final product was going to be. Why would you use those visuals if that is not your final product? Because to me, as a consumer of that email, I saw it to be a lounge area where people are coming out and, kind of hanging out. So if that's not your final product, why would you use that? And what does your final product look like?
Oh, yes. I believe in the email I mentioned that this is just a preview of the space that we are working with. And, I just wanted to give a visual of how roomy it is, how much space we have compared to, your typical smoke shops that you see around the city and the different kind of vibes that we're going to bring. It is going to be a loungy kind of a big area. I think like I mentioned, the only other concern email I got was, will there be foosball tables and pool tables and such? I think that part needs to be cleared up. Probably that's not gonna be the case, but it will be a similar type of lounge space that's very luxurious and somewhere people can relax and consume their cannabis.
Okay, thank you. And I just also want to remind the committee before you guys vote that if we vote this into existence, there will be 3 cannabis storefronts on the 9th Avenue block, making it increasingly difficult to maintain the neighborhood as a destination for other businesses who are still struggling to come back from COVID. And the 9th Avenue corridor is an entrenched market and hotspot for illegal cannabis storefronts. It's within 500 feet of a church and 1,000 feet of another licensed shop around the corner. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. In the room, I believe we have Brian again, Brian Weber.
Thanks.
And again, if you can just introduce yourself, and are you okay?
Maybe I need some cannabis to level
Calm
that.
down.
I'm Brian Weber. First of all, I just want to say that Brian is very modest. She did not mention that she's the vice president of the Midtown South Precinct Community Council.
Well, she was representing CHDC.
Yes, she was, but I think that gives some broader context of her knowledge of the neighborhood. I'm Brian Weber. I am a public member of Community Board 4, not this task force. I am the president of the Midtown South Precinct Community Council, and I co-chair the West 36th Street Block Association. I was one of the recipients of last night's email. What I want to comment on is several things, but I have to say this was a terrific presentation. I appreciate the applicants. I particularly appreciate Jay for being candid about what defines him as a legacy candidate, which most applicants don't do. So thank you, Jay. I really appreciate that. This isn't about the applicant at this location. It's about the location. Just so everyone here knows, West 39th Street in an 8-week period had 43 arrests on that block alone. 29 of those were narcotics arrests, 19 of those were for dealing narcotics. On Tuesday, there was a brutal stabbing. If you want to look it up on social media, it's there. But it occurred on 39th Street, not at 4 in the morning, but mid-afternoon in front of a crowd of people. This is a rough neighborhood and we've been struggling for some time. I'm not concerned about your ability to compete with unlicensed stores. You're obviously accepting that as a business and the market will dictate your merit, but it is about the location. It is about the narcotic activity here. And yes, the streets are lined with unlicensed shops. I think it was mentioned earlier that today, 584 8th Avenue opened. It's called Indoor Treezz. It's within 1,000 feet or just on the border of 1,000 feet of your proposed location. And I also just want to note that I walked over to the building today, which I'm very familiar with on 9th Avenue, and spoke with the hotel GM who wasn't really aware of any of the details of the project. He did say that the downstairs spaces may be problematic for consumption because they border on spaces that are used by the hotel. And in addition to the hotel, it is also a residential building. The upper floors, I believe 5 and above, are residential. There's 111 rental units there, as that other gentleman said. So I think that the board is challenged here with not just evaluating the applicant, but evaluating the appropriateness of this location. And I think, again, really experienced applicant, gave a terrific presentation. And I would ask that the applicant find another space in our community to operate. But this location is really poor. And on that premise alone, I would ask that the board consider opposing this.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian, may I ask you a question quickly?
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Yeah. So Daniel, at this point in time, we're going to be discussing with the committee.
Got it. Okay.
If there were no other unlicensed shops in that neighborhood, there were none whatsoever, would you have a problem with this application?
Yeah, as I said, it's not the unlicensed shops that I'm concerned about. Theoretically, we'll close those down eventually. My concern is the narcotic activity in this area. And the pre-existing social service infrastructure that is on these blocks. And, you know, that is a continuous work in progress, but now it is particularly brutal. And I don't think that a cannabis site at this location enhances the neighborhood. I think it presents challenges that, you know, if we don't have it, we don't need it there right now.
Understood.
So
I also have a question. Do you feel that cannabis shops increases, like legal cannabis shops, increases the likelihood of or the volume of illicit activity? Primarily, it sounds like illicit activity in not marijuana, in hard drugs.
first of all, so
Or is
licensed
it,
shops, I'm not concerned that licensed shops would be trading in illicit drugs. I am going to work from the assumption that licensed shops are operating in complete compliance with the law. But this is the same situation. If a bar was applying for this space, and it was a bar, not a restaurant looking for a liquor license, I would oppose a bar at this location. So it is not about cannabis, legal cannabis, and it is not about the applicant. But it is specifically about my concerns regarding this location. And, you know, like I said, this week was a particularly brutal week on that street. And the individuals that were engaged in that violence are constantly lingering on that block. And so the concern is, it's just like with a bar, when a community member shows up and says, we don't want a bar at this location because we're concerned about the clientele loitering after hours or during hours. What I'm concerned about is the cannabis shop here. I know you have on-site consumption, but you can't control what your customers do once they walk out the front door. And once they walk out the front door, it's a nice day, they might want to hang out on Ninth Avenue and smoke. And that's an issue. There's a big sign at the entranceway to the hotel saying, no smoking within 25 feet of the entrance of this location. So that means that if people adhere to that sign, which no one ever does, they're just going to move on to the corner closer to the buildings managed by CHDC, for example, or onto the block where the church is, or worse yet, onto the 300 block of 39th Street, where we already have issues.
Thank you,
So,
Brian.
thank you.
Did you have any further comments or questions, Sandra?
Thank you.
I'll let other people talk. Maybe I'll have more comments.
I have a couple comments, but please, anybody else? So one of my issues here is I love the actual vision. I like the idea of this type of consumption lounge. I think that it is extremely upscale and does have a market somewhere. I think that what is a disservice to your operation is trying to open in this location. It is not an upscale location. It is not a, it is actually, as Brian said, it is a very dangerous location. So the type of clientele you're looking to bring in, the type of clientele that you're looking to educate and be concerned about their health and work with them on understanding how cannabis can be helpful in their lives, they may not want to travel to this part of the world. And it's unfortunate to say because it's my neighborhood and we're born and raised in the neighborhood, but we are struggling here. I don't think that this is a question of whether or not your operation creates more of a problem, at least from my point of view. My concern is really about the appropriateness of this size of an operation, the style of the operation in a neighborhood that really, if I hate to say this, that has become seedy again, and it is seedy. And so those are my concerns is again, for your business operation, even though you are setting yourself up for success on paper, I think in reality, this location sets you up for failure. But that's my point of view. And again, it's not a comment on your operation. It's again, like Brian, it's more of a comment on the location, unfortunately. Raul?
I have concerns with this application as well, but not necessarily for that reason. Mine is more about the business structure and my understanding of New York state law regarding the ownership and control of a licensed dispensary. Just as the way I understand, and please correct me if you know this, Jesse. My understanding is that justice involved individuals must own and control 51% of a licensed dispensary. It appears to me that it's gonna be Mr. Kang and Mrs. Zimi who are really gonna be the ones who are controlling this business, even though they only own 49%. It sounds to me like they're gonna be controlling. I asked Mr. J, what he was gonna be doing, and he said he was gonna be, be involved day to day. But the law is very clear. It says that the justice involved person has to have control of the business. It has to do things like approve the business's operating budget, maintain the books or financial records for the business, hire or fire executive personnel, direct the board, or approve contracts for management of facility services. I mean, it's pretty specific. I'm not sure that Mr. Brown is going to be doing that. He might own 51%, but he may not. He doesn't sound like he's going to be controlling the business as defined by the law. So for those reasons, I have a problem with this application.
Sanford?
I guess returning to the topic of the location. I think this sounds like a very upscale business. Almost a little bit annoyingly upscale, like not gonna be that affordable. But I do think like this is, I don't really see a lot of danger in terms of like, I don't know if they'll make it in this market. I think that is the role of the market. I don't really think we are the right people to decide, like if a bar were to open, I wouldn't really say like, I don't know if like any given location of a bar is gonna make it. But I think realistically, like this is gonna be very upscale. Kind of people are gonna come to the shop. I honestly doubt we'll smoke outside. And I think like if anything, it would like increase the curb appeal of the neighborhood, might bring people who then go and shop at other places nearby. I know this is like I live on 4th Street. I know it does, the neighborhood does change as you go down the 15 blocks. And I do respect that, but I also think like it is very viable that people will come, like 15 blocks is not unreasonably far. There will be a market, I think, for people coming in. I think that could be good. It could be good to get some of that more upscale street traffic, drive people to other nearby businesses. I do kind of share that concern that you have about the actual ownership, just, because it is the law. So I would, even if we approve that, I would like mention that in the letter as something that OSAM could look into. I don't think we necessarily have the ability to do a full investigation of such matters, but we can mention it as a concern. As people have mentioned, other ones we really have no investigative powers. But that's my comment about the location. And then also I would be, if we were approved, I would mention that concern in the letter.
Thank you, Sanford. Anybody else?
Wendy, my only other comment, actually pertains more to outreach. Just given some of the questions and comments around the extent to which the other residents of the building are aware of this. I know an email was sent and obviously received some feedback, but given how many units are around, I'm surprised you've only received 2 responses back. And so that was my other.
Yeah, and for clarity's sake, the list that we have are known block associations.
Right.
We do not have lists of every residence, and we don't have a particular list for the building, the residents in this building that we're speaking of. So unless they are part of a larger organization, Hell's Kitchen Neighborhood Coalition, their own block association, we wouldn't be having those contacts.
Just for the board's knowledge, they do have a sign posted on the door of the building. So again, in all fairness, they did try to do outreach.
No, they did. Yeah, I can. Yes, that's true. They did post. They did. The applicant certainly did post.
So for those who didn't hear, Brian was just noting that he did see signs posted on the building, so they did that. That was that part of outreach. Rodney, Alan, anything?
I think the location is a problematic location for a long time, and I don't think Brian can certainly attest to it. I don't think it's gotten any better in terms of cleaning up the neighborhood or things like this. And so again, we're back with a good applicant as we had before. we voted against the other one for the same reason. I think we should stick with the same conclusion.
Rodney?
Yeah, my sentiments sort of match up with Alan's. I mean, this is a difficult one because you have a great applicant or what appears to be a great applicant with a great story. However, is it fair for us to move this along when there's so many other illicit cannabis stores for the community? They don't care if it's legal or illegal. They just see 4 stores or 5 illegal stores. So I think for me, the tie goes to the community. I would probably say no at this time. I would love for them to be in our community. I just don't think it's fair to put the onus on the community to bear, oh, this is a legal one as opposed to the 4 illegal ones next door.
Understood.
I'm sorry, Leslie Johnson.
Oh, we have Leslie. Hi, Leslie, welcome.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
You are.
I have lived in this neighborhood for decades. And for 15 years, I lived on 37th Street between 8th and 9th. Now I live on 43rd between 8th and 9th. Anything below 42nd has historically been a bit more dodgy than above 42nd Street. I agree with Brian Weber's take that it isn't the operator, it's the location. I think that between the Port Authority and also I believe that the parole board is still a block away. It's always been a crime area, and more so now than ever before, right around the Port Authority. Also, the Port Authority is saying that they're going to embark upon a 10-year construction project, which would impact that area. The other thing is that people who want good quality product and legal product are not going to be happy visiting this area. Anybody with common sense would say, why would I want to walk into this, very dodgy neighborhood? That's all. I think that it's a bad idea. And it's because of the location, not because of the operator. They should find a better and safer location, and one that is not going to have a 10-year construction project around it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Hey, do we have a motion from anyone on the committee? I know that we have multiple concerns, but just wondering if there's a direction. Anyone have a?
Oh, excuse me. Can I get a chance to reply to any of the concerns real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, so I have a pretty good anecdote, I think, that will address the concerns about the area, which is, very valid. About a year ago, we took over a store in San Francisco right off Market Street because of previous owners, like you said, like you mentioned on 39th Street, that street was very dodgy, that, people just laying out on the ground, drug addicts, and, in front of the store, it was just crowded. So they abandoned it. We bought it. And it was not a good area. When I visited the first time during the project management phase, windows were broken. I've always seen scenes like that on the news and such, but I don't live in San Francisco. I haven't directly faced that, and my window was broken, just parking on the street. So I knew that we had a big challenge ahead of us. But we like to invest in our location and our community in the area that we're in. So we took on that project. We renovated the space, and we worked very closely with SFPD, including the chief of police, to clean up that entire block, not just right in front of our store. I wish I can show you the previous before picture, but I can share with you the current picture, which is a cleaned up street that used to be, like I said, then people sleeping on the sidewalk, on all kinds of drugs and such. Right now, our sales are going up every month. As you would expect, clients did not want to go to that area when it was very dodgy and had all kinds of issues. But as we cleaned up and had street patrols, and we also had parking attendants with parking patrols, and the area got cleaned up, people started coming back, and we gave the residents in the area a clean and safe alternative, which is what we're aiming to do here. We're not in our locations to make a quick buck and get out of there. We want to invest in the long term. And if if the area is dodgy, as you say, and like the experience we had in San Francisco, we feel like that's part of our duty to improve that area and provide the residents of the area an alternative. I don't think, banning legal stores that are maybe too luxurious is the answer to fighting illegal shops. And that's just my opinion. And I think our experience in San Francisco will show that. And then just to quickly address a role that Jay is going to have. We've been speaking with Jay about his role, and he reached out to us to specify his role as well. And of course, like we said, yes, please, what do you want to do? How involved do you want to be? And he reiterated that he wanted to bring his managerial skills and be involved in the day-to-day. And of course, we welcome that. And once we get started, we're going to train him and get him up to par on the Ohana way and the standards that are required to run a successful cannabis business. There's so many things you got to do: inventory management, staff management, vendor management, your day-to-day operations, audit of every single item. We have on average 1,200 items, SKUs in our stores. And so it's a very complex machine. And this is all like knowledge that we'd love to share with Jay as he grows with us. And becomes part of, but it won't come all at once, right? It'll be a gradual learning process. And I've been involved in cannabis since 2017, Miriam as well for many, many years. We're still learning as we go along. There's new products that come out all the time. There's new tax laws that change all the time, local rules that change all the time, a lot of things that you have to stay on top of. And these are the things that, we're going to work with Jay and be very prepared to do. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. We appreciate the additional context. It's actually very helpful.
Can I also please just make a couple comments to tag along with Daniel?
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. And I just want to thank you all for your concerns that you guys have expressed. We truly do embrace them. Just to touch on a few of them that were mentioned, one in terms of the consumption space. I know there were some concerns around the smoking and the smell. I just wanted to reiterate that, again, we are not your traditional cannabis operation. We're very much so an operation that is focused on wellness in terms of cannabis use. And so our consumption facilities, we actually don't do smoking in any of our current live and active consumption spaces. We actually much more advocate for the healthier form of consuming cannabis, which is edibles or drinks or consumption modalities, again, that are healthier on the body. And so there really won't be issues of smell. In that sense, there's not going to be smoking. We also don't allow smoking within 500 feet of our own operations. And so I know you mentioned, I think it was the hotel that doesn't allow smoking within 25 feet. We're very much so on board with that as well. And the other thing I wanted to mention, just in regards to the concerns of the area, as Daniel mentioned, we're not here to just make a quick buck. We're a cannabis operation that's truly here to make a difference and to make communities better. And so we have an actual track record of doing this in San Francisco, as he mentioned, full of homelessness, full of narcotic use. We came into that space and we embraced the darkness and we turned it around and turned it into a positive and have elevated that community. And so I just want to lastly reiterate that we're not afraid of the darkness. We're an operation that, as leaders, we elevate the darkness within ourselves and we do so in the world. And so we're not afraid of it. We embrace it. We welcome it. And we believe that you don't, shine out darkness with more darkness, but you shine it out with light. And so that's our intention, is to come into that space and to make it a positive and to focus on solutions, which is how we truly make change. So those are just a few comments that I wanted to make. And again, thank you guys for time and for voicing your concerns.
Thank you, Miriam. So we are just letting the public know we are in the business portion of the meeting. So we're discussing the application. So we're not taking additional public comment at the moment. Before we got that additional clarification, I had asked if the task force, had a direction, anyone, care to make a motion? How do we feel on this? Come on, we gotta get moving and at least start with one part of the conversation.
I would motion to approve this application, I think with so a couple caveats based on the conversation. One is just to ask OCM point that we had some concerns about the involvement for Jay Brown. Again, I don't think we really want to investigate that, but we can mention that in the letter. And I think that is the main caveat. Do we have anything you want to put about the consumption lounge? Because I think this is one of our first ones.
Your motion.
Okay, that is what I'm having, but I'm open to if there's any other, my motion is to approve, but I'm open if anybody wants to have any other comments or caveats.
Do we have a second?
Well, before I do a second, let me make a comment to that. I agree with the part about the ownership structure and not ownership, control, is really the issue.
Yes, yeah.
Because 51%,
Yeah.
he's 51%, oh, that's great. It's the ownership and management that I'm a bit concerned about. I'm not so much concerned about location from the point of view of, I remember when Hell's Kitchen was really seedy too. And it wasn't until businesses came in and started to invest and do upgrades and improve that the neighborhood turned around. And I'm hoping that maybe this might be a first step. So I would be open to your motion, with a clarification that it includes the issue about control, not just ownership, but control of the business.
So is that a second?
That is a second.
Okay,
That's a good clarification.
okay. All right,
That's
so we have a motion, we have a second, do we need to discuss or we can vote? Alan?
Just a question. Last time we had somebody with a consumption, we kind of tabled that.
That situation is they had not applied specifically for consumption, but had the aspiration to eventually have consumption. This is where they have that in that business plan as described.
I believe at the time of the consumption lounge license even available, that a newer license.
Yes, please.
David, can you clarify, or Jaden, or Marion, can you clarify whether currently OCM is even approving or has started reviewing consumption lounges?
They have not. The retail license itself comes with the option for a consumption lounge. So we just thought because we have this big space that we'd leverage that option, but it's not a separate license. Like here in California, it's a whole separate license. In Nevada, it's a separate license, but in New York currently, it's a retail with an option for consumption on site. And yeah, we of course wanted to leverage it, but if there's like a lot of opposition to it, then we can obviously modify our plans as well. Because our main focus is of course retail at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Alan, to answer your question, it was, that location was Barbaloche on 56th Street. And the way we ended up doing is that it was actually the first application we had gotten. We had gotten at the time with a consumption in it, where they stated that in the basement, they were going to do. What ended up happening is that the applicant voluntarily said, okay, I'm gonna hold off and come back to you with when I have something, a clearer plan as to size and this and that and the other. So we approved that application subject to them coming back on the consumption side.
So, but Alan, you were gonna say something else.
Yeah, so I have to go back and look at how many, can we go into a
It was
quick
7,800.
on the consumption part? So
Well, right now we have a motion to approve with only a stipulation of clarification of control. And we have a second. So we can discuss that particular motion. If you wanted to add something as an addition to that, you can, or otherwise we're voting.
well, I have concerns about consumption rate. To begin with, in terms of health requirements or on-site health, and I'm sure these folks seem to be, quite capable of providing health providers in case there is, personality problems, with the consumption. In terms of, medical, attention and things like that. I mean, I wouldn't be ready to vote on that. It's a total package.
It's a total package.
I still have a concern location wise, given the impact from the community, so.
Can I call a question? Am I allowed to call a question?
I guess so, maybe
Well,
a second,
you can make it
but
friendly amendment down to. But the
Well,
consumption.
in general, I would have to.
Yeah, I'm gonna call the question. Let's just
Yeah.
vote on what we have, which is a motion and a second. And if you have reservations, you vote the way that you think that moves you. So, with the motion on the table, to approve with clarification on control, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, here we are again.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, please.
Related to consumption? So location aside, and I'm in complete agreement, these seem like excellent operators and sort of best case scenario in many ways. Because consumption is so new, I'm thinking through the many liquor licenses that I've been a part of and how many times we ask for things like a sound study. Because we need to understand like the totality of what the experience is for people in the vicinity of that location. To me, consumption is similar, less from a sound study perspective, but I have some concerns around the filtration, just because we don't know what that is. And I don't know the right questions to ask, and unlike having registered sound engineers and sound companies in New York, I don't know that we have like protocol or recommended systems or recommended companies. And that, and I appreciate the clarification that your recommendation for consumption is actually less on the smoking side, but assuming that smoking will be allowed at all, then you have to be prepared for that. And I know your application states you're gonna have an industrial strength ventilation system, but it's such an unknown to me that that's challenging.
Sandra, yeah.
I would suggest, like we do with Barbeloche, asking the applicant to come back to us before.
Well, this didn't pass, so we have.
Okay.
Yeah, so-
But if this application.
Yes, if there's someone who wants to make another motion or something to that effect, we can see if there is some area that we have consensus on. Because at this point, we don't have consensus.
Okay, I still think we should just ask as a committee that the applicant come back to us before we make a consumption map, because as like was discussed, there are a lot of unknowns about that, and this would be, I think, the first in our district. And we do want to make sure we have a good handle on that, and if we have additional requests on consumption maps, we want to have the time to make them. And like we have seen applications where the board voted against them to be approved by OCM. So I think like we should, want to maintain a relationship with these operators, and whatever happens for our decision, the full board or just in the rest of this meeting, we should just like keep that relationship open. And if they do obtain a license with or without our approval, then we would still like to have that separate discussion on the consumption.
So Daniel, you had mentioned that if that's not the direction that the community is looking for, that you're open to not moving in that direction, but most importantly, I think to Sanford's point, since it is new and those licenses aren't actually available at this time, if you are approved, can we get commitment from you and the rest of the team that you would come back to the community to discuss and describe how you would implement a consumption lounge?
Yes, yeah, and that's very understandable, and we're very happy to put that on the back burner and come back in a future date for the consumption lounge. If we can just focus on the retail side, that is the core of our business. The consumption lounge was really just an extra bonus and kind of like a service to our potential clients, providing them a space to smoke. But of course, they can always go home and smoke like everyone else. So it's definitely not something that we're necessarily needing. And if we can, proceed with the retail side only, I mean, that'd be perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we
Make a
have,
motion. Can I have one more point of clarification? Daniel, and I apologize, I missed this. Did you give us the hours of your operation?
oh, we didn't ask, sorry.
Yes, yeah, Monday through Thursday is noon to 8 p.m. And then Friday and Saturday, we have 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. So OCM limits our weekly number of hours that we can be open to 70 hours. So we're within that range. And the weekends, of course, we anticipate to be a little more busy. So we allocated more hours to Fridays and Saturdays, and Monday through Thursdays are shorter hours.
And my thought on location is I don't want in any way to diminish the experience of the neighborhood and the community in that area right now. I have some degree of optimism that by having a very professional operation, I don't know what the impact that will have on the illegal shops, and those I know need to be dealt with separately. What I've been wrestling with is the addition, does it make the neighborhood worse? What's the potential for increased crime because of this, or, with the addition? And I think that's what I'm wrestling with personally. I think this is in some ways as good as this can get. Like they're very, very professional operators. And I used to live in San Francisco. I'm inspired by the story, and just the potential of what a good business can do for a neighborhood. Not that it's their responsibility to change the street. And I know that we had said no to another good operator in the same area, so I'm sensitive to that. But I think I would still be supportive of that. And I appreciate the flexibility to remove the consumption now, and that helps, I think, quite a bit with some of the other concerns that we have.
Yeah, and I don't know if this will help, but we can definitely, for our San Francisco location that if we improved, we can go to our neighbors, our fellow stores on the same street and get letters of recommendation from them and have them tell you directly how much the street has improved since we started operations there since last year. If that helps, we can definitely provide that.
Yeah, I think the cities are very different. Appreciate that sentiment. I think more importantly, the outreach to community, specifically the building, where there are residents, is probably a lot more important for the community's sense of contentment around this business operation. Okay, so
Because we've had other locations where support has come from the community.
Yeah.
And we haven't had anything on this end.
yeah, and we also just haven't had there aren't a lot of participants in today's meeting period, so, okay, that motion did fail, but we were split. Last time, what we had recommended was to send that to full board for it actually to be new business and then go to full board,
We can do a new motion.
we can make a new motion.
I would like to do that, make a new motion to approve the applicant subject to the issue of control. And that the operator agrees to not open the consumption lounge until they come back with specifics.
Second.
I think we also mentioned outreach, ensuring that outreach happens.
Absolutely, outreach, absolutely.
Yeah, try not to influence the motion, then we have a second, okay.
I see that as a friendly.
Yes, okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. All right, so,
Is that right?
Most likely we have full board.
Yeah,
well, we'll,
leave it up to people.
yeah, all this means is, again, our full board meeting is where, any resolutions are actually voted on by our full member of 50, volunteers that make up the community board. We are the committee, so to speak, the task force that would make the recommendation. Because we are split here, the opportunity is there for this to be presented as new business at our full board meeting, which is the first Wednesday of the month. That gives still an opportunity for the community to weigh in and then to ultimately determine how the community moves forward or not.
And they're invited to present there or? as a
Not to
populace?
present.
They can speak, so Daniel, we'll be in touch, Daniel, but, it's the first Wednesday in May, it's at 6:30. There's a public session in which you guys can sign up, you have 2 minutes, and speak, and if the letter is there, it'll be as new business and presented there. The motion that was seconded will be turned into a letter.
Yeah, and what we would ask in the meantime, between now and then, if you do continue to do community outreach, particularly those immediately impacted by your potential business, and provide us some of the feedback or either the evidence that you have done that outreach.
Will do. Thank you.
Stanford?
I would just add to the applicant, if you can show some community support at the full board meeting for your application, that is a good thing. I actually better not to bring like 10 people or that's exhausting, but if you could bring like a few members of the community, especially like someone from a block who like from the block association or something like that, if you tell them your story or especially your story about San Francisco and they find it compelling and they can speak to like this block, found this story compelling and we like this applicant, that would be very helpful for your application.
Yeah.
Rodney? Just for clarification, they reached out last night to you all?
I think I got that email. Did you get it yesterday?
I got it yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
I would recommend they reach out to residents of the actual building.
Yes,
And they might find support there.
Yeah. So, sorry that we were not able to give you a conclusive answer this evening. Again, please do the outreach. Jesse will be, in touch to make sure you know the dates of our full board meeting. And you are welcome to speak during that public session, which gives you 2 minutes to present. And we look forward to having the conversation, at the next round. Thank you.
It's 2 minutes per person, so it could be 2 minutes.
Well,
for-
it's 2 minutes.
Yeah, light them up, bro.
Thank you very much.
Load them up, are you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna move on.
I just want to say thank you to all of you. That was a very interesting debate, an excellent applicant, but really thank you for all your time and consideration on that, even though you didn't come to a consensus.
Well, I think that, I mean, it just speaks to our issues, right? It's complicated. We have clearly, again, a second really thoughtful, probably good operator that in normal conditions would be probably very welcomed here and would do well. But again, you're right, it isn't our role to consider whether a business will do well, but part of what I think all of us have been advocating for is for the legal cannabis industry to get it done right. And one of the things that I think personally is tragic is to go ahead and say, we like you, you seem great, and knowingly give someone the opportunity to put up a business that, knowing the conditions on the ground, there's more in the way than there is in providing that support. I don't know if anyone is here from Pink Treezz. We haven't been able to connect with anyone from that applicant. They've not responded to any of the outreach from the board office. So if there is someone here from Pink Treezz, which is the 500 West 43rd Street application, please raise your virtual hand for us to bring you over. Anyone from Pink Treezz 2 Corp in attendance? If so, please raise your virtual hand. Okay, I don't see anyone. So folks, the board office has reached out to this particular applicant several times. We've received absolutely no responses. We've seen no community outreach. Just for, as I mentioned prior to the meeting, since we didn't have all the information in the Dropbox, I did mention this particular location actually is operating as something called Pink Treezz at the exact location. They have had evidence from community members that have purchased cannabis products They have a receipt which they've sent to this office, which will be sent to the sheriff's office. I don't think that even if they had come, that would be something that we want to support in any way, shape, or form, that an illegitimate business is trying to legitimize themselves by going through the legitimate process. I don't think that it warrants a vote because they haven't presented. However, it is very vital that we send an administrative letter to OCM to document that they have not participated in the community process, as well as that we do have reports of illicit activity.
I mean, and Wendy can confirm this, I think. I mean, when this doesn't happen very often at BLP, but when it did, BLP does an administrative letter to deny, simply because the applicant was not here. We can't have a conversation with them. We wouldn't be able to say they were one way or the other with anything. So as long as everybody's comfortable with that.
It is an admin letter to deny.
An admin letter saying basically at this point, we cannot support the
We can't
application.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I just wanted to, if Jesse, if you're able to bring up, what I sent in the Dropbox. That would be great, and I'll tell you which one.
Give me a moment.
So, this is sort of related to the fact that, applicant, from Pink Treezz did not show up. And again, as I mentioned, before the meeting started, we had hoped that someone from, Cannabis NYC would be able to present, but because it's, close to 420 celebrations that they weren't able to, bring someone here. I think it's important that we do continue to have at least some discussion so that the community at large is able to understand a little bit of the difference of legal versus illegal, but also some of the community concerns. The only thing I wanted to bring up today, and we can expand the discussion if need be, but I have Jesse who's gonna forward to himself.
I didn't know you were looking to put it up.
No, because I think it's important, is just to define, because one of the comments that came out of full board was the fact that people did not know exactly what the different types of license applications were, whether micro business versus retail. And so I think if we just take a little bit of time, not overkill, to at least display those two particular different licenses and what OCM has put in place for that process, that would be helpful to the public at large, and also our further discussions of education. So the one I wanted to show first is the retail. Oh, very good. So Inside Radio here, not that one. That one's too long. It's one of those with the pretty pictures. Adult, there you go. Wonder Bar. Did we lose our public?
No, just took off this.
Okay. Oh, you're saying like document. Oh, that was the same document. I'm sorry.
It's the other one.
Yeah, it's the one that has a pic, you'll see it. It's a infographic. It was the one right below it. Sorry. Give us just a second. We didn't rehearse our roles today. Okay, so there we go. If you're able to move the full screen.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So just essentially, I think the important thing is the majority of our applications have been for the retail dispensary license. And what we have asked questions about, but it's already baked into the law, is that that the business has to demonstrate that they've acquired a location, or that they have a location, that what they will be doing is they will be able to sell cannabis products in a brick and mortar store. We also know that there is the opportunity for people to order online, that their customers must be over 21 years of age. And again, it's very specific in terms of, if we look at the top part, what they can sell. So they can sell cannabis consumption products, they can sell paraphernalia, they have to be licensed from licensed distributors, et cetera. So it's very, very specific. And so a lot of things we've asked questions are things that are already in the law. I think where this really applies is where we're hearing from applicants that are saying that they want to convert an existing convenience store or an existing business and that they can just flip it over to the cannabis. So, I mean, really the whole point of putting this up on the screen and it's describing what that is for us to, if we had any questions, to start noting them now so that when we have someone from Cannabis NYC or OCM come to speak to us ahead of a forum, that we have these questions already in place.
So I was thinking, some of the folks were concerned, some of the concerns that were brought up at the board meeting were about, well, it's a cash business, it's this, it's that, there's something sinister in terms of how we're going to be operating. I was just wondering if the state has an oversight regulations. Are they checking the stores that they have the proper merchandise? Do they get audited from time to time? Do they check with the supplier and say, who have you delivered your product to? And then check with that store that you know, checks and balances, so to speak. So I think so this way the public could have a better sense that there's somebody really looking out for this on this business. It's not just, oh yeah, you have to be 21 or check 21, but you know, what if they're getting their merchandise from somewhere else? What if they're burying money somewhere? Or do they get audited from time to time on a regular basis?
So that is part of the regulation. So the 128 page law does mandate at least the audits, the checks in terms of where the merchandise is coming from. When MRTA came out, that described in detail what type of training was required, what type of for those that actually were growing the product, how they can grow the product, for those that were delivering the product, what safeguards need to be in place for them to actually move the product from A to B, how they would actually, in a retail space, where they would secure the product, the type of ID systems that they would have to ensure. So all of that is spelled out. The real question is there budget? And is there actual people in place to perform those audits?
That's a separate story, but I think just the way they have these flyers explaining what the license is, perhaps we can condense or somehow, because maybe the state has already condensed those regulations onto some sort of flyer, which we can distribute or put on the website.
Great idea.
That kind
Great idea.
I would even go further to what Dolores said. One of the criticisms of starting a business in this industry is that it is highly regulated. Because the law states that they can only sell product grown in the state of New York. So they actually track the inventory from the seed as it is planted and the plant grows. And then when they move it from the grower to put it on the truck, and on the truck, they deliver it to a dispensary. All of that is actually scanned, for a better word, of it moving. And then when it actually gets to the store and it sells, that's when they do the final scan where the product has actually been sold. And all of that has to reconcile back to that original seed that was grown upstate New York or where.
I think
it's highly regulated.
Right. How do we give the public the confidence that it's regulated?
Yep.
That they can, you know, that's the story.
That's a great idea. So perhaps, I know that when Jesse Greenwald had first sent out the full regulations, when they were posted, each of us had gone through a certain section and raised concerns. That might be a great exercise for us to go ahead and do that again and maybe pull out from each section, maybe one bullet or two bullets that we can think about, something to post on our internal website that speaks to directly from the regulations. So it's not our opinion, this is that provides that type of information. Thoughts on that?
No, it's great.
And I would add to that, if you're gonna add regulations, is it's an explanation of why the cash. They do cash, not because they want to, but because the IRS won't allow them. It's illegal on a national level.
All right.
So, yeah, so the IRS has passed a rule that says that they cannot use federal banks in any transactions. So that kind of limits them to cash, in the movement of that cash. And they came up with other rules, that are really tough on businesses. They cannot deduct their rent, on their, from their taxes. They can't do salaries. None of that is deductible. The only thing they can deduct is the cost of the inventory. That seed that becomes a plant that is moved to the store. That's the only thing they can deduct as a valid business expense.
Right, it's, until it's federally legal.
Yeah.
They can't use the normal banking system.
Yeah, so that makes it really tough on them.
Nothing wrong with
Yeah,
cash.
money's pretty good.
Rodney?
Well,
In addition to putting it on our website, is there something, or is it worth sharing directly with our full board so that they can see the one sheet?
Oh, you know
Have a
what?
better understanding.
That's actually a great idea. Do you remember when Jeffrey did a presentation on the budget process? He did just a very short 5-minute presentation before a full board meeting, so the broad public. Perhaps that's what we can work towards in the next couple months, is to put together a short presentation of explaining the process for the legal process. And if there's other things that we want to point out, like what that enforcement that is currently at that time is happening and what progress they hopefully are making, maybe that might be something that we can do as well.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a myth busting or FAQ.
That's
thing.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway from the last full board was our own board is struggling with a lot of these questions because it's complicated and the rollout, as you know.
That's a great idea, make it more of like questions answered and it's myth busting. That's great. That's great.
I do think though, going back, if it's not Cannabis NYC and maybe it's OCM and Cannabis NYC, I think the two issues that you guys will be struggling with going forward really are gonna be consumption and these micro business cultivations.
Yeah.
Because I think people, and I struggle with it, right? Because I'm asking agencies, okay, what is the Department of Health's role in oversight or enforcement of a cultivation center, right? That you go into a restaurant and they give them, summonses up A, Y, and B, and you have an A code or B code or C code. What are you doing in this scenario? If it's not the Department of Health, is a DEP, and no one seems to. I'm not saying they don't know, but I don't know if they're the people I'm speaking to are thinking of it like that, and we're getting more and more of these especially the cultivation ones. So I think trying to get someone in here to, like you said, myth bust it and then educate us, but then also educate the public to know that someone is paying attention to that.
So perhaps that's, our forum will be twofold. The forum could be having the presentation to really help us understand some of these major questions. The other part of the forum is just so that they, meaning OCM, can hear the community concerns without them presenting, just hear it, listen to it, and then presenting to the full board a consolidation of that process. That could be something that we do basically through the fall, right? Because we're already in spring. So.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add one other thing, if that's okay.
Sure, and then I would like to bring up the micro business.
Yeah,
graphic
sure.
afterwards.
Oh, well, then I'll.
No, please.
Um,
We welcome your comments.
Well, I was gonna say, I had my district service, well, then I'll interrupt again. I had a district service cabinet meeting this month, just this week. And I was really happy to hear, and maybe Brian already knows this, is the Midtown South officers there were telling us how much they're start training.
Yes.
In their, hopefully eventually, they're much more local involvement in the enforcement of illegal.
So just, I don't know what that's been expressed publicly, but my understanding is that state budget.
It's been discussed.
Okay, so there's, one of the things that's coming out of learning on the state budget is that there's not enough sheriff available in New York City to do the level of enforcement that is necessary. And so there's been discussion that they didn't bring the NYPD in to assist. And I just want to let the board know, it's right on the border of CB4, but yesterday, the store on 584, there are two properties there, one that's open as a licensed store. The other storefront that was operating as an unlicensed storefront was padlocked. It is physically padlocked by the sheriff's department. So it can happen.
Yes.
And I'm going to be optimistic and say that this will continue in our community, but
yeah, Midtown North has also reported a more systematic way of cooperating across all the different agencies that are involved. And they did say we all need to be patient. It's a long process, but now we at least are hearing from NYPD that they've been given direction on how they can be part of the enforcement. I think part of what the confusion was is that it was only in the hands of the sheriff's office, or at least that's what was explained. Elected officials who passed the law kept saying, well, there needs to be enforcement. There needs to be enforcement. The problem was we didn't have the tools in place to implement the enforcement. I think now everyone's playing well in the sandbox and managing the responsibility collectively. So we may see a lot more movement on that front. So I just wanted to at least put up the micro business, just so that we at least allow for folks, because that did come up in full board, and that was really the only other one that I wanted to review today. So one of the questions I think that came out of the last meeting where we did have was it the last meeting where the micro business was? Which the question was about the size, and if you look at this little cheat sheet in the bullet point section, there's either the 3,500 or or the up to 10,000 square feet. And what I think that we need a little clarity on is whether or not within New York City that there is an additional limit. What we did hear from that applicant is they had mentioned that they're going to be doing the 3,500 square feet, but what wasn't clear is that the max that's allowed in the city. So I think that's something that we need to clarify, because I think the community concerns that were brought up are only amplified if the size is larger of these spaces, because there's so much, as Wendy was mentioning, it's just unknown, like just even, not even a consumption, but unknown about how the smells may impact, how that power usage may impact a building that's adjacent or the community members. So what this allows is that on site, someone would be able to literally, the seed starts at that location, and that they're able to grow and also sell their cannabis directly to the public. So it's twofold. They're the manufacturer and they're the distributor. So it actually is and retail. So it really is it's all encompassing in terms of a business model. Sounds great in theory, but practicing in a city where you do have buildings that are very close to each other, where you don't have an understanding of how that actual business impacts anything in a building, right? Fire, sound, smell, energy, all of those things. So I think it's important for folks to know that there is an outline by the state. The state does specify exactly what a micro business is. I don't think that we have clarity as a community on what the specifics for the city are, if there are any amendments to this. And I think also, I don't think we even know what questions to ask on how to ensure that this outline, which may be envisioned somewhere in, I don't know, Schenectady or in Buffalo or some other part of New York, how that applies in a very dense environment like New York City. And I think that's something that we need to think about going forward, is how do we unpack what all those concerns that may come out from the community and think of ways to pose those questions to OCM on the micro business. So that was the only thing I wanted to bring up. I don't know if anyone else wanted to expand the discussion on it.
Yes, I would like to touch on two issues. Well, one, we already talked about enforcement. but I'd like to have a better understanding as to what we can do as a community board to reach out directly to the different city agencies that can or should be doing something about enforcement. Like, for example, I think there should be a lot more pressure on, or I don't know how you're going to go about it, but how is it that building owners are leasing to unlicensed businesses? I don't understand how there is no penalty on them, how they can even do that. So if the community board can do something in terms of reaching out to whatever city agency.
So we can,
or agencies
we can.
to do that.
We can write a letter if someone wants to propose that.
We don't even.
Enforcement agencies that may be engaged and involved in our local elected officials. That is one avenue we have for voicing these concerns.
Well, that certainly is one area that I'm gonna pursue. And then another one is, I'm troubled with this requirement. I must have passed, before I came on here, about the control that the community board is requiring, that we are requiring control of a lease before an applicant can come to apply.
It's not us.
Well,
It's not state law. The state doesn't require that.
No, so there's two, but right, you can apply to OCM with no control of premises.
Right.
Then, but OCM will not require those people to give us notification, to notify us until they have premises. So it's the same difference. So that's why we said, we're not going to review anybody
Unless you
have control of premises, because the flip side of that, Raul, is that we got 100 applications in 2 weeks, and that's part of the reason, the difficulty of, trying to manage the review of all these, and that's why some of these are months old, compared to others, and so, but yeah, we decided early on, when they made that decision, they said, the time to notify would be when you get control of the premises, because originally that was when the dormitory authority was still really was supposed to be involved in like securing all these premises and then giving them over to these applicants, and that kind of didn't really work. That's why, because I think that's the problem. I think if you did the opposite right now, you'd be talking about theoretics, right? I mean, it's all about location, right? We just have all these meetings about location, and they would be saying, well, I hope to be in this place, but there's like no guarantee.
Alan?
So just to follow on that, I assume the concern is that these folks go into a lease and paying rent and.
Huge rents.
We've seen some of them come in with, letters of understanding from a landlord.
No,
They're not paying the rent, right? But
they've still
if you
secured.
found a landlord who's holding it in place, so that would qualify in state laws.
Yeah.
That clarification, I think, would be helpful for applicants.
Yeah.
Because not usually, I've read that especially the justice, applicants.
The social justice.
The social justice minorities, the one who were really hit hard when it was illegal. They're struggling to try and get to this because they don't have the money to even pay the lease,
Yeah.
So, and then they get indebted to try and get the lease, and then they have to wait months and months, maybe even years to get the license. And it becomes, somebody called it financial slavery, the way they have to go about to get the license. And so I'm kind of troubled with that.
So I will remind us that we did pass a letter last month to send a letter to our elected officials concerning the budget and whether or not there would be budget put aside for enforcement. That letter did not make it to full board. It wasn't written. We have the opportunity to have that written again. So that is something that will get done. I know, so I mean, they're always late, so maybe maybe it actually gets an audience. But to that point, as I mentioned, Raul, you asked what we could do about enforcement. I mean, I don't know, we've discussed it ad nauseum at many meetings, and we've heard from the community about enforcement issues. Did we want to have another letter coming out, that goes to, all those different agencies and electeds and speak to better coordination, concerns. We've already had an enforcement letter. come out.
Well, let me, how about this, because we do have,
We have
we have two letters, we've had two letters on enforcement, but there is a law about about going after landlords, it is in the process, I don't know what its status is, I'm not up to date, I don't know, Brian, you know or not.
I don't know the details on it, but look, the DA's office is.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we want to do the research and find out, I'll get the information
And
first,
the other-
before we start doing another letter.
And the other problem is that there are many landlords that have, there's been bait and switches. We've had many landlords where someone has come in and saying, we're opening a deli. And then they actually go in and they open up a smoke shop. That is,
But if you are a landlord, you have to know what your commercial tenants are.
So
You have
if-
to go to the building at least enough to.
so the example of a small owner is on our block, actually. It's a 55th Street and 9th Avenue. That person said they were opening a deli. They immediately came in, illegally changed the structure of that whole building, so against DOB, they didn't have any permits for any work, and then they locked the landlord out of the space. So things like this have happened, and we laugh, but if you think about it, you're someone who's had an empty vacant spot, you have a broker who is working to bring someone in, they bring someone that sounds okay, you sign off on it, then you actually find out they're doing something that you don't want, and then you lawyer up, but that process also takes time. So it's complicated.
I just want to kind of feed off of that. There are a lot of shops right now that are unlicensed shops. And tonight we potentially had an applicant who didn't show up, Treezz, that is an unlicensed vendor who says, okay, I'm gonna get a license now. What I want to make sure is that we don't just go, okay, because I know there are elected officials who are of the viewpoint that we should just license all the unlicensed shops. And
Really?
yes, public advocate had advocated for that. But I think that, and I tasked the task force with this, is to not reward applicants or landlords that have been in violation.
So we are very lucky that we have Jesse Bodine as our district manager, because he has gone and visited almost every single one of the locations that has come before this task force. And we have had opportunities where, or not opportunity, we've had situations where activity has been observed. That made it very clear that even though someone may say, oh, it's not me, I'm not there, that's not what we're doing, that we have at least that information.
I just think it should be that based on the location, because it's possible that an applicant will show up. And we have this in CB5 where an applicant, Weed World, everyone does Weed World, right? An applicant showed up and said, I'm not Weed World, I have no affiliation with Weed World. I want to put a licensed store here. And the board approved the licensed store. And I said, look, it's not why are you approving at this location?
Right.
And they said, well, wouldn't you prefer a licensed over an unlicensed store? And I'm like, we shouldn't be asked to negotiate against ourselves.
Yeah, this is something that I think that all community boards are struggling with.
Right.
So in any case, yes, Sanford.
I quickly Googled the law about landlords specifically. And I can't read the article because I don't subscribe to the New York Daily News, which who had a paywall. But it says that the law was actually passed last year, but they haven't, that was in March, and this is believed they have not found a single landlord from when it was passed 8 months before March.
They actually have, but.
Okay.
But again,
This is why I said it in your.
that's maybe just recently that they have.
I think we have sent quite a lengthy enforcement letter. In any further letter we write, we can definitely reference that letter and say, if you really want all our thoughts, read 5 to 6 pages. But we could specifically call out, this actually does seem like potentially quite an effective tool. Many of the other tools that are in the legal arsenal today have not been as effective as we might hope. But the landlord thing seems to be, actually be quite impactful if it puts a little bit of the fear of God in other landlords who start doing a little more due diligence, especially in areas that seem like prime targets. So I think that would be where I would
Yeah, we'll
to
get more
write a
information.
brief letter just saying to our electeds and whatever enforcement agencies and just say, like, use this tool.
Yeah, let's get some
I
more.
think we're losing the enforcement battle. I see more and more unlicensed shops every day,
Yeah.
especially in Health District.
So, we don't really have anything else to discuss, and I don't see any other hands up. You guys want to stick it all night?
Nope.
So,
Motion?
second, okay. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining.
Oh.